I am so ready for today's Waterproof Records. You have no idea. I have been trying to get this guest on the show for months. We go way back, and I'm looking forward to talking and catching up and just to kind of set up who we are talking with today. I've talked on the show before about my history in stand-up comedy, performed in LA for about 8 or 9 years. Looking to get back into it at some point in time. It just got difficult, obviously, with the lockdown, but I had lost a little, energy and momentum to keep going with it, even a year or two before. But I'm starting to miss it, starting to think about going back. And so it's really opened the door for me to talk to some of my old comedian friends. And that's where the origin story of this guest and I began. Over a decade ago, I met my guest, and shortly after us becoming friends and getting along quite well at some open mics and comedy clubs around LA, he moved back to the East Coast, back to New York City. And while we were able to keep in touch through social media, it wasn't until I started seeing this incredible heavy metal themed talk show called 2 Minutes to Late Night. And I was like, there he is. That's the guy. Gwarsenio Hall, a.k.a. Jordan Olds, who is a very funny guy, great music taste, and we got along very well. And I was sad to see him go, but then I was so happy to see him thrive putting together this incredible show. So today, I'm so excited to welcome to Waterproof Records. Let's talk to Gwarsenio Hall from 2 Minutes to Late Night. Let's go.
Things are going to change. I can feel it.
If this going to be that kind of party, I'm going
Waterproof Records. Waterproof Records. Waterproof Records with Jacob Gibbons.
Before we get into it, I want to talk about my sponsor, DistroKid, who you know I love and you should love too. I have a VIP link that you can use. It's distrokid.com/VIP/waterproof. That gets you 30% off your first year. And why aren't you using it? Oh, you probably are using it, and I'm getting all in your business about how you're already using it. You're like, Jacob, I'm using your link. I'm using DistroKid. But if you're not, you could go in there, follow that, distrokid.com/VIP/waterproof, get 30% off of your uploads of music to DistroKid, and that puts your music on Apple, Spotify, Google, YouTube, everywhere. You can show all these amazing musical masterpieces you're working on, and you can get them out there to the world. It's a very easy platform for you to be able to watch how many people are listening to your stuff. You can collect your earnings from your streams and downloads, and they've got an iOS app, and you can do all sorts of cool stuff. And when you get DistroKid and you have that initial investment into getting your songs out there with 30% off, they have all these cool tools that you can use and see, and everything from the lyrics and having a little video play on Spotify, all sorts of features that you can enhance. Some are included, some are just a little bit extra here and there. But again, check out DistroKid and make sure you use them. I love them so much. But it's now time to get into the show. It's now time to welcome my guest. So welcome to Waterproof Records, Gwarsenio Hall.
Oh my God, Jacob, thank you for having me here. I'm excited to talk about records.
Those things that spin round.
Oh my God, they're so round. It's so sick when they do that.
So sick. Well, what I got to say to the listeners is if you're not watching the video version of this, you're missing out on Gwarsenio's glorious face, because it's just painted to perfection, and you've got a stash too.
I got a mustache. We're shooting a couple of we're just finishing up some sketches and videos for the 2 Minutes to Late Night live show at Gramercy Theater, and in one of them I gotta have a mustache.
You do, so it's part of the show.
We've done. I mean, I've had a mustache before.
You have. I remember
when we did a King Diamond cover, and I was like, all right, if it's me singing as King Diamond, I feel like I got to go all in. I got to have a mustache.
You got to do it. That's the key.
Yeah, it's where the voice comes from.
Yes.
It's the only way you can get grandma. Like, it's all in the. You got to sing from the mustache.
Yes, I love it.
chord voice, head voice, mustache voice.
It's funny because it's true in a way that facial hair does mess with the way that your mouth kind of moves to music. So in a very true way, whenever I've had a mustache over my lip, I feel like I say and speak and sing a little differently than I normally would. So it's very true.
It's very, especially with this, because I got to use like a crazy setting spray for all this, and it gets into the mustache. So the mustache is like hard. It's like hairsprayed.
Hard mustache.
It's like a hard. It feels like I have plastic vampire teeth on top of my lip. It's crazy.
That's amazing. Well, I'm going to describe it. He's got very, very amazing looking corpse paint on. He looks metal as fuck. Is what I'm trying to say. Metal as fuck.
Yeah. Imagine if a bird shit on a window.
Okay. Yes.
And then that's a face.
That's a face. That he described
Just dripping down.
Poetry in motion, guys. This is exactly what I'm looking at right now. Bird shit on a face.
It's an ink blot test. What do you see?
I see. Oddly enough, it really reminds me of a guy I knew over a decade ago here in LA, and for some odd reason that I hung out with back in the stand-up comedy days. I don't know. That's what it reminds me of.
Oh
in
yeah,
some unusual way.
I've heard of that guy. He's not. There's a reason he quit stand-up, huh?
Yeah, I don't know. So to the audience, there was a fella once upon a time that I knew, and I met him here in LA, not for very long, but this would have been 10, 11 years ago.
Yeah.
And there was a comedy club here in the Los Angeles Valley with a great name. It was the Ha Ha Cafe.
It's always. I went to see Kyle Kinane the other week, who we've become kind of friendly. And spoiler alert, we were shooting something with Kyle for the 2-minute show.
Awesome.
And we were in Boston, and just the comedy club was called Laugh Boston.
Laugh Boston.
And I was like, can we not? That's the best we came up with. Laugh.
I know.
Not like giggles at Boston. Like, what the fuck?
Right. Just the names, the cliche names of comedy clubs. Somebody's really got to be out there thinking out of the box. Like, I'm going to do something that's like, Pasta Spasm Comedy Club, or like something that's just like, what are they talking about? I love it. Yeah,
it's so. But it does feel like eventually they're like, it's a comedy club. They gotta know what they're getting. We're putting it on the box.
We're putting comedy.
Yeah, the tickle seller. Let's go.
It is true that a lot of these comedy clubs are run by guys that couldn't be less funny with their attitudes. We gotta book the comedy every night. Make them laugh. Get the chuckles.
If it wasn't for the legacy, if I heard a club was called the Comedy Cellar, I would be like, that sounds like a fucking pickle hole. Get that away from, I'm not going there.
Yes, it's so true. It's because it carries the weight of the name, but if you heard it just out of the gate, you'd be like, all right.
Yeah, it sounds like not a cool place to be. It sounds like it would be. It sounds like it would be a bust.
Yes,
and I would but it is probably the most famous comedy club in New York, and I feel like because of that, maybe other comedy clubs are like, well, that place is called the fucking Comedy Cellar. We can do better than that.
Yeah, we could do better. We could do way better.
I feel like people expect it to be like, all right, come down here for the lull bomb shelter. Let's go.
Yeah, there you go. That's now we have to make that club, I guess. So
yeah, I guess.
All right.
Well, when we get to brick and mortar real estate.
Yes, that'll be our time to shine.
Yeah.
I've never been to New York. Can you believe that?
I don't. Really? You've not once?
Not once. It's kind of tragic. I've always wanted to go, and it's been one of those things that year after year after year I said, well, I got to get out there. I got to visit. I had friends that lived there for years, and I still have some friends that live out there, you included. And I've never been really had the time to, and I had kids. I did that whole thing, and now the kids are getting older, and so it seems like it's getting closer and closer, especially with what's been going on for me here, that I could probably get to New York pretty easily these days. So I would love to come visit.
Yeah, you should. Well, like you don't want to take your kids to the Empire State Building, stuff, or whatever.
I do.
Yeah.
I want to take him to the Empire State Building. I do.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you don't do like. There's better things to do, but I feel like
You got to do that once.
you got to do that. I feel like people are like, don't do that tourist stuff. Everywhere I go, when I go to a new place, I'm like, I'm doing the tourist stuff.
Yeah.
Because I gotta know for myself.
Yeah.
I went to London a month ago to do like a 2 minutes thing.
Yeah.
I get booked. My friend is Kristen Hayter, lingua ignota, and she's the most incredible singer on the planet, and she writes the most emotionally devastating music of all time. It's
amazing.
It's every
I need to check
album is
her
an
out
opera.
immediately.
Devastating.
Okay.
I have brought people to her shows that I'm like, you will cry. We're all gonna cry together. And they're like, they maybe had never heard of her, and then we're sobbing by the end of it. I've never brought a person to her shows that wasn't left sobbing. So I am usually brought on to her shows to host like a little after party to like
calm everybody down.
Like
everybody center yourself.
Yeah, like we're gonna do some silly shit. But so like because of that, like I get to go to like London and be in a fancy venue looking like that. It's crazy. But I was there like a month ago, and I'm going to Tower of London. I'm looking at all the Big Bens.
Amazing.
I'm seeing all that shit.
All the Big Bens.
Every large Ben. I'm looking. We saw it all. Like I did Phantom on the West End because like whatever. I'm doing the basic shit because the next time I come here, then we can spend all of our time going down the rabbit hole without of real local stuff, without feeling like I feel like you're able to appreciate the context of it a little more once you have done the attractions.
The attractions. I tell people the same thing that come visit LA. Like if it's their first time, this doesn't happen as much anymore at my age now, but in my 20s and 30s, if somebody was coming to LA to visit, I would be like, well, let's knock out the touristy stuff in the early part of your trip. I feel like if you're going to come, you got to do the things that everybody tells you to do. And then we can really dive into the more local, cool scene things. But I feel like any major city, you got to just do the thing that they're known for at some point in time, usually in the first visit. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, why I feel like it's really what you, unless you really know someone there and they're really guiding you around, like you got to start at the top and then figure out what you like doing in that town. Because there were a couple of recommendations that we got from people that were cool. Like when we were in London, we went to Oddity, like this crazy oddities museum that was also like an absinthe bar. And I don't drink absinthe because I don't like licorice.
Yeah, black licorice.
I'm not trying to drink an old person candy, but the actual museum was crazy. It was really and the vibe was immaculate, unbelievable.
Yeah.
But then there were like a couple, like I got recommended, like I don't eat meat. I got recommended like a vegan fish and chips, and eating it, I was like, I'm eating a fried banana peel right now.
Really?
Disgusting. Frankly, disgusting. One of the worst meals I've ever had.
Incredible. Never, and you'll never forget it. Time of your life.
I will never. It's a banana peel.
Yeah.
That they throw. What the fuck?
That's so good. It's so good. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? Do you still do stand up?
So that's a good question. Right around 2019, I started to kind of take a step out of it, and then the lockdown, of course, obliterated it from my life.
Totally.
But I just recently hung out with an old comedian friend and did his show, and he was like, "Why aren't you doing it?" And I was like, "I don't know." But I do miss it, and I feel like now that we're a couple years out of all that chaos, I do want to go back. And the fun thing is I've looked at it kind of through the lens of what's been happening for me the past few years with the music thing and how I could marry the two. You know what I mean? So like, whether it's I start incorporating into the stand-up a lot of the music humor that I do. I've thought about bringing a guitar up on stage, not to mimic Tenacious D or anything, but, just to do something that really utilizes what people enjoy about me is my joy for music, Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. So I've been, Do you still get up?
I stopped, I think about like a year before we started doing 2 minutes, because there was a moment where when I moved back here, it was hard to find a mic that wasn't like, part of the reason we went to the Haha is you got 5 minutes.
You got 5 minutes.
You went up within the hour. And like, it might have not, it wasn't an alt room full of the like other comedians that like I necessarily wanted to do shows with or whatever. Right. Like, we met each other, which was awesome. Yes. But the whole point of it is like, we're gonna practice. We're practicing our craft, and it doesn't really matter who the audience is. I need the time. But in New York, it was always like a minute 50 for like 2 minutes. I'm like, I can tell one joke, great. We're here for 2 hours.
Right.
Everyone is like, everyone is a good comedian for the most part that I'm going up with. At least there's a lot of good comedians, but it's not a good room to like really test the material. And I think I got a little burnt out. And also I feel like there was a point where I was like, I don't really know if I have a lot to say. Like, I'm just like also a white guy who's swiping. Like,
yeah. There was a repetitiveness, especially in the comedy culture, of a certain type of life, and it was being repeated amongst all of us comics. And it was like, you'd go out and you'd be like, people talking about smoking weed, getting laid, using apps, dating around, whatever it was. And so there was, to your point though, the thing about the Haha that was beneficial, and I think that when you would explain it to people, you'd say, look, their policy is this: $5, you get 5 minutes. And people are like, they make you pay to do a mic? And you'd be like, yes, but I'll give them credit because you're getting up, you're gonna get up, and you're gonna get the 5 minutes, and you're not surrounded by a bunch of edgy comics that make you feel like you don't belong. For the majority of the time, there were some times that maybe the energy in the room was, somebody was there and everybody was like, "Ooh, we all got to show off for this person." But overall, it was the best way to kind of get your training, especially in the Valley. You're not over the hill. You're not at the Comedy Store. You're not at the Improv. You're not feeling intimidated out of the gate. You're like, okay, I could just get better and better and better and better. And so that's why I started there. And meeting people like you and other great comics that had that same, like, look, I just want to figure this shit out energy was awesome.
Yeah, I think like I don't think that there's like there was a better like Meltdown. Like I went to the Meltdown mic a couple of times and I was like, we're getting no time, and I've been here for 2 hours.
Right.
And the thing is that everyone at the 2 hour mics that are free, that like, it's 2 hours of time, and it is full of like arguably better, like the comedians were better. They were better there because they're not going to the, like, I feel like not a lot of people who were trying to get seasoned were going to the Haha because it's not where you're going to get noticed. It's not, which is what I didn't want. What I didn't want was to be noticed when I'm trying, when I'm
when
figuring out
it's
the crowd.
early, right? Absolutely.
Yeah, who the fuck wants to go? Like, who the fuck starts playing guitar and you're in a room with people you respect?
Yeah. You're like, I just started playing guitar. I'm booked at the Whiskey A Go Go this Saturday. It's like, whoa. You gotta have steps. You gotta get good. You know.
Yeah, I think it's I wanted the time more. The other reason that I stopped is I was on like the last Hard Times showcase here in New York, and I had a really good set, and I was on it trying to warm up for the second episode of 2 Minutes to Late Night that we were going to tape in a few weeks, and I had a really good set. And then the Hard Times showcase stopped. And at that moment I was like, I'm going to go out on a high, I think.
Yeah.
Like, that was a good final like 15-minute set for me. And I don't know, if I get like the urge to like actually write a set, like maybe I'll do it, but I don't know. I haven't had it. I feel like I feel like it's probably the same for you. I get the performing bug and comedy out of me doing this.
Yes, and that's what happened big time. Was even after leaving it in 2018, 2019, I jumped on for, somebody would come along and say, hey, can you come and do this show? And I would go do it. But once this started, this scratches the itch. This is the videos that I make, the comedy that I make, and the interaction with an audience that follows my stuff. I'm like, oh, I'm performing on my own platform, my own stage. And so it really fulfills what I was getting out of comedy, which was I just want to entertain people. And so you're doing the same thing. It's like, this show, 2 Minutes to Late Night, is awesome. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Like, dude, what year was the first? When did it all start?
2015.
2015. So, if for anybody who's listening to my show, if you don't know what 2 Minutes to Late Night is, you need to go check it out immediately. It is such a clever idea. It is. I remember the first time I saw it come through, and I knew it was you, and I was like, this is amazing. A heavy metal talk show. I was like, why hasn't this been thought of before? And you thought of it, and your partner thought of it, and it was just this great idea. Can you tell me a little bit about that? You slipped on the toilet, you hit your head, and you drew the flux capacitor moment of when this came to you, and you're like, this is what we're gonna do.
So it originally came from I've always done music videos since I was like 18, bullshitting my way into like local festivals and filming local like hardcore bands or whatever. And so I've always done like little whatever. I worked at Victory for a little while. I did stuff for them and whatever. So local, I'm back in New York like 2 years kind of after leaving LA. Mm-hmm. And I'm getting to know like the local metal scene that's relatively new for me because St. Vitus gets built.
Right.
I think in the time that I don't live in New York, like when I lived in New York originally going to college, it was hard to find, there kind of wasn't a heavy music scene. I didn't know anyone playing it. I didn't know where the local shows were happening because there was no CBGBs, and like there was like Death by Audio. It was just a DIY venue, but that got bought up by Vice. And that got torn down. So I was like, I don't know what's happening anymore. Yeah. And then when
so
I
come
come
back,
back,
music scene wasn't really like you knew exactly where to go. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I feel like it exists. It exists now, but for a while it was what's happened. And I feel like also for a lot of, there was no like venue like a St. Vitus that was like a draw. We needed a new CBGBs, and they filled the space. Yeah. And so I'm spending a lot of time there, and I'm meeting a lot of local bands. And there was a local doom metal band named Godmaker. Great name, great band.
Great name.
They wanted to do a music video for the new album. The album was awesome. It's 3 songs, and all of them are 9 minutes. And they didn't have like a budget, and so I was like, okay. And they were like, we can kind of just do a performance video. And I was like, okay, a 9-minute performance video. Fuck. So I started thinking about what we could do. And I remember around this time of me trying to come up with the treatment for it, me and my co-creator of 2 Minutes to Late Night / roommate and best friend, like we were just up late watching videos of Rob Zombie playing on the 90s talk shows. Like we were huge Conan fans. Conan is the best.
Yeah.
But we were having such a good time like watching just every talk show like have to introduce like a metal band, like Rob Zombie's just David Letterman being like, all right, folks, their new album is called Le Sexorcisto. White Zombie. And then it was like a really fucked up VHS copy and it looked crazy. It was really a really fun juxtaposition. And that's kind of where I was like, oh, it'll be fun. We could do a music video for this band where it's like, it looks like a rip of a talk show from the 90s. Like it'll look like someone uploaded a VHS of it and it can just be the talk show host introducing like Godmaker, and then they can play for 9 minutes, but we can have fun making it look like a VHS, making it look like a real
like
talk
they're
show.
on a talk show. Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, it'll be fun if we like could like make it look all janky, but and then like what if the host is like in corpse paint? And the more I thought about it, I was like, I kind of just want to make this show.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the inception for it. Is I was working at like a media network. I don't want to say the name.
Sure. You don't have to.
Because I don't know. Whatever. I originally pitched it to them, and they were like, "Sounds cool. Let's shoot a pilot." And then, in typical this media company fashion, everyone who was like the head of video that we were working with, like they all get fired, and I was like, I don't know what we do with this now. We have it. So we kind of re-edited some stuff, like took their logos out and just put the episode on YouTube, and it kind of popped off from there.
Yeah. I remember.
Sorry to Godmaker, I owe you a video. I guess it's been 8 years.
8 years.
Sorry.
They're still waiting. They're still waiting on their
Still
Godmaker
waiting.
video. But I feel like one of the earliest clips, at least that crossed my path, or I remember seeing that the show was on YouTube, and then it was the bird one that I remember was getting sent around, because I don't know if it had been extracted from the episode and being shared as just an individual clip.
Yeah.
Like I was landing on blogs, like here's this excerpt from 2 Minutes to Late Night. And that's where I was just like, I don't know how far into the show that one was.
So that's like, it's like technically the third like episode, or the third full episode that exists. But
yeah.
So we did this pilot, and then we were like, okay, we made the first actual episode of 2 Minutes to Late Night. The way it worked on that was, that's us trying a lot of shit. Like we shot a million things for that. We shot
so much,
a bunch of sketches. We were like, let's try doing like Daily Show style monologues. So we had like, it was like me doing like topical like music humor, but we were like, by the time the fucking episode comes out, like this news is going to be so old,
right?
So we cut all that out, and we were like, oh, we can't do a cover song because we don't know how the rights work,
right?
For, like,
YouTube might flag it. Yeah
Or just the company that we were making for it, like they might not be able to do it. So we had Mutoid Man play one of their own songs, and we had 2 guests, and we were just really trying to figure it out. So the second pilot that we made was, we called it the second pilot, which doesn't make any sense. That's not a real thing. There's no such thing. But for us, it was like, okay, well, this is kind of more what we think
the show will be.
the show would be like if we were like off the chain a little bit. And I
Right.
think that episode is more us, but I think like it had been so long since the first one that we were like, we watched the second one back and we were like, okay, this feels like you can't just watch this on its own. Like it's so indebted to the first episode. So we then decided to do like a Patreon funded 8 episodes. We were like, we'll make a Patreon, however much money we get, like we'll just it'll take a long time, but we'll be able to pay everyone properly to make 8 episodes, and we're going to just do whatever we can. And so like there is a real like a season 1 episode 1 thing there of the original 8, and in that episode is the bird sketch that you're talking about, and we did release that on its own.
Yeah, I thought so.
So it's a lot of like the whole show has been a lot of like trial and error, and we're learning kind of what we can do with the tools that we have, and it's been a lot of fun, and I'm really excited for kind of what we're gonna do next. Like the show we're working on coming up is our most ambitious, I'd say, and it's absolutely the funniest thing we've ever done.
I can't wait. And I'm glad that we timed it where you could come on and I could tell my audience about the show, because I want them to check it out, because even though I've set it up and said, heavy metal talk show, he's got this amazing backing band, Mutoid Man, and all the guests and people that you guys have visiting on. And I was going to say to people who listen, if you're not a metalhead, it doesn't matter. You have rock and musicians from first of all, it's funny. It's a funny show. And then you have amazing guests, and it's rock, it's heavy, there's jokes in every direction. Really, it's a bunch of music lovers. And we've had, besides you now coming on the show, the other guest that's been on 2 Minutes to Late Night that's been on Waterproof Records is Walter Schreifels, who I adore that man.
The best.
He's wonderful. So no
bad bands. Who the fuck has 4 bands and they're all good?
And they're all good. Who has done so many projects and music, and he's just such a kind, generous person with his time. And I loved getting a chance to meet him. And when he came on the show, it was great. And then I watched, of course, the show where he came on yours and doing a Top Gun, cover. I mean, just what a wonderful guy.
He wanted to do that.
Did he? Did he?
Yeah. He was like, I wanted to sing this. I was like, oh, fuck yeah. Okay.
Take my breath away. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
It's so good. And then you guys also, and to your credit, it looks like you put these super groups together of incredible musicians. And I'm sure people who are listening have seen the one with freaking members of Tool, Coheed and Cambria, Primus doing, these cover songs that you guys put together are just remarkable. Can you tell me a little bit about how you're getting this? Are these just fans of the show? They like saw 2 Minutes to Late Night and they're like, I want in.
Kind of.
Okay. Kind of.
That's kind of how it works. So in the actual talk show, like part of the gimmick, you're right. So the show is about music lovers. Yeah. This is a show about, it's a talk show for music. It's heavy metal themed because that's what I know, and that's how I know how to. Right. And it's also, I think, the most. It's a fun sandbox to play in, and I think that it's easy for people to want to. It's a fun release. It allows itself to. It's the funniest genre of music, so that's why the theme is the way that it is.
It is the funniest genre. It is the funniest genre of music.
It's the funniest genre
because we love the death and the dark. But it is so fun because you can parody it, and it's great. You know what I mean? Yes. Like everybody's on board in the metal community to kind of make fun of the metal community.
Yeah, and it simultaneously can be like I feel like the spectrum for the genre of aggressive music is like a me and my friend Lingua Ignota, Kristen Hayter, writing the most cathartic and devastating music of all time. But then you also have you have Gwar.
Yeah,
You know,
then you have Gwar.
there's the two spectrums of what it can be, and I think that's the furthest, at least by genre title, that's the most amount of stuff that you can be.
Yes.
And so I originally on the talk show, like we would interview a guest and then they would do a cover song with us at the end, and it was hard we had a lot of people that wanted to be on the show, but they're like, I'm coming through only to do my own show. It was hard to figure out, like, hey, can you come to St. Vitus for free? Like,
Right.
So, Chelsea Wolfe, who's an incredible musician in the scene, she's got a new record coming out, and it sounds fucking crazy. It's on Loma Vista. Check
Awesome.
it out. She's unbelievable. She's kind of like a mutation of like Nine Inch Nails and Queens of the Stone Age,
Love that.
which is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And she had wanted to be on the show for years. She was like, I want to come on the show. I want to do Crazy Train. And we're like, got it. And we built this demo for her, and we could never make the scheduling work. So we started in 2019 shooting and figuring out the plan to do isolated
Remote
performances before the pandemic.
Right. So you had you were ahead of the game of this, like, we've got to record things in 5 different cities.
Yes.
Before.
So we had the demo for her. So we built it, and then we did like 2 others to kind of, with like a close-knit group. We did Weird Al and AC/DC.
I think I remember seeing that.
Yeah, so we did those, and then her cover of Crazy Train, and we had all of those ready to go before the pandemic even hit. And then
Wow.
because we already had these, we were like, oh, these are really perfect and easy to do right now based on what's happening. And because we figured out how to creatively make it happen, we could spend our time figuring out, like, all right, how can we do this so that it helps the musicians that are a part of it? So we pivoted. We're not doing full episodes of the show anymore, so we pivoted to Patreon to be like, this funds like whatever you're giving, like this money goes to the musicians playing on the songs and the guy editing the videos and mixing the music. Like,
And that's all there is
what's
to it.
happening.
We're putting together a fun cover and a work of art, and you're basically thanking the people putting it together for you with your investment.
Yeah. Like I took as much, like we all split the money like evenly. Like if I'm on the song, like I take a cut of it, but there were plenty where I'm not there. I don't make a cent. I don't touch.
Yeah.
I don't touch it. It was a platform to, number one, have artists who are bigger be able to have fun and not feel the pressure of like writing a new album when it feels like everyone has the same experience. But it's also to introduce, like by having some bigger name artists, we were like, well, we should try to sneak in an artist from a newer band.
Right. Right.
So that people can check them out. So we tried to always have a balance of that on the song. So it's not
All
like, even
iconic people that everybody knows. It's like you have these really well-known established names on these songs, and then you have somebody in there that they may not know.
Well, like, you know, even on that Rush cover, like that's all heavy hitters, but then it's also like Steve Brodsky is here.
Right. Mutoid Man.
Mutoid Man, Cave In.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Jacob, do you know Cave In?
I don't know Cave In.
You need to you specifically
get on
you need
Cave
to check
In.
out. Well, Cave In has been like a different band
Okay.
throughout all their years.
Yeah.
And they're one of the most accidentally influential bands. Like they used to be a hardcore band. You need to check out this album called Antenna.
Okay.
And
will.
specifically for what you like, I know the music that you like, and this is like a perfect version of it.
Yeah.
And it was their major label debut, and their right when it came out, like their A&R team, a classic like issue, A&R team gets fired from the label, and so it's like this ghost of
Wow.
a perfect album. Like they put that album out, they go on a Foo Fighters tour, and there's like no promotion for their album, but they are like punk and hardcore icons now. But they
I
have
love it.
this perfect like alt rock masterpiece.
Okay.
It's a masterpiece.
I'm in and I'm
of
on.
what should have it's exactly what alt music should have sounded like throughout the 2000s, and
Love
it's
it.
unbelievable. And then from there, I think you are going to have a great time checking out all their other albums and hearing
Yeah.
like what they used to sound like when they were like they used to sound like Converge, and it was crazy.
Yeah.
And then they put out like an album last year. We did me and 2 Minutes Late, and he did a music video for it. But
I need to go check that out.
this album sounds like a heavy stoner Soundgarden album.
Okay.
It's so sick.
Those are all
You're gonna have
words
a
that I
great
like.
time.
I love all those words together.
Yeah.
So you're putting together these amazing songs with the big bands, but then you got the Steve Brodskys on there, and so it gives people
Yeah.
a chance that are like, I know who Les Claypool is, I know who Danny Carey is, but I'm not as familiar. And then the door opens to these musicians' catalog.
Yeah,
Right?
totally.
That's amazing. Amazing.
Totally. And so that's kind of like, it was fun because we had like a reason to do it. Like we were like, this is how our shows usually end, or with covers like this.
Right.
But with this format, we got to do a lot of stuff, a lot that we normally wouldn't. Like I got to play. I'm usually the one composing the covers. And so with that, we got to do a lot of bizarre
Right.
versions of the arrangements. Like we got to do like Oingo Boingo in the style of Iron Maiden.
Yes.
With if you haven't heard that one's one of my favorites. We did like a Brian Eno medley
Incredible.
with like a bunch of Brian Eno songs, and we did like Blackened by Metallica, but the BPMs are shifted, so it's like slow at the beginning, and then the
I saw
slow
that one.
part is fast.
Yeah, I
It's
try to
cra-
keep up. You guys churn out such great stuff. There's so many. I'm excited that we can share it with my audience, that they can go check it out. If you're a music fan, if you're a music lover, that's what these guys do. They're taking songs that you love, they're fucking with them a little bit. They're doing these amazing alternate covers and interesting takes.
Yeah.
It's just fun. It's just a fun universe you've created.
Yeah, thank you, my friend.
You're welcome, my friend.
So we're putting based on this, like we're pausing the covers to focus on this upcoming live show, because what we're building is like a 2-minute show that can travel and go to different places, because we've only ever done New York or whatever festival will kind of book us.
Yeah.
And this show is going to be, it's not going to have Mutoid Man on it, but we have a house band called the Callous Dowboys, who are crazy. They are the new Dillinger
The
Escape Plan.
Callous Cowboys.
The Callous Dowboys. They're
What a great name.
fucked.
Oh, I love it.
They sound like Calculating Infinity era, like Dillinger Escape Plan with more Mike Patton business.
Oh my God. Incredible.
They're incredible. They got a violin player. It's nuts. They are nuts. They have the craziest. They are so much fun to watch.
Yeah.
Our guest is Andy Williams, the former guitar player for for Every Time I Die. R.I.P. Every Time I Die. They were the
R.I.P.
best.
Every Time I Die. Yes.
Love them. He's a wrestler now. We're going to
Wow.
talk to him about what he's doing, like about both of those things existing at the same time.
Yeah.
Like becoming a wrestler in your 40s, like what he's got going on next. He's also going to judge, like what the show is going to be is the theme of it. This is what I'm most excited about, is we're doing the Mosh Olympics.
Yes.
So it's
The Mosh
literally
Olympics.
Olympics. So it's competitions for different like mosh moves. So there's
Yeah.
going to be like a spin kick. It's kind of like a mosh themed field day at the end of the
Yeah.
day, but it's prestigious. It's the Olympics.
Yeah.
So there's going to be like the 3-legged 2-step. There's
Amazing.
going to be spin kick the pinata, potato sack crowd surf. Like it's going to be a ton of fun. The audience is going to be Andy's going to be a judge.
Amazing.
Spoiler alert, Walter Schreifels is a part of this.
Good.
Like,
Say
yeah,
hi to Walter for me.
he's great.
That's amazing. So everybody needs to check it out. When is the new? Would you call it a season? A new season is dropping.
So it's gonna essentially we're gonna take the Mosh Olympics, like it's starting in New York, but we're gonna do it based on what the show is. It's based on audience participation. The guest and the house band are gonna change depending on what city
okay.
we're in, but the way this is going to work is the Mosh Olympics is just going to happen all over the world so we can find the best moshers. So it's like
That's amazing.
not really going to be a season. Like we're going to just capture all
love it.
these different things and then put together like we don't totally know like why we've told people. Everyone's like, you're not filming this. I was like, not like a normal episode. Like it's
Right.
not, it doesn't totally work like that. This is going to be a touring stage show.
Amazing.
And we're going to tape like pieces of it. And it's going to be like a big crazy thing by the end of it. But it's really, we wanted to build something that's like, this is a live experience.
Yeah.
This is different than what we can do on YouTube. Like this type of thing can't exist as like a full episode. It's got to
Right.
be around. We got to go to different towns. We got to see who is the best
I love
at
it.
moshing.
Best
We
at
gotta
moshing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
well,
got to
I-
have different judges. It's going to be great.
I'm gonna. So then on this episode, I'll make sure to link all the ways that everybody can follow. What's happening with that they can know where your shows are going, where they can see you, how they can get involved. So we'll make sure that
Right.
they're included in on that.
The only
yeah.
way to see like the Andy Williams Callous Cowboys version, this initial version, is Gramercy Theater in New York, December 14th. You got to come see this shit. It's gonna be bananas.
Okay, if you're in New York and you can get there, you have to be there. You don't want to miss this. And
You don't.
Yes.
You don't.
And so this gives me hope that the fact that you're touring and this is ongoing, that there could be a West Coast opportunity for a collaboration between Jacob Gibbons and Gwarsenio.
Maybe. I think we'll see.
We'll see. There was
see.
a once upon a time. Wink. We'll see. Once upon a time, I remember you reached out to me early on, and I don't know if this was in the 2 minutes to late night, and we were working on a back and forth about a possible bit that I was going to film called "Open Up This Mic."
Yeah. So we did.
You did it,
We've
right?
done it.
Yeah.
It exists. It's it is. We were gonna do a West Coast
Right.
version of it. It's been hard to pull that one off after we shot the first one.
Yeah.
I think we got away with the first one because people did not know what it was. But
Right.
anytime so many bands have been down. They're like, please do this.
Yeah, I would imagine so many
Venues-
bands are cool.
Venues are like, fuck no.
liability nightmare.
No. What insurance do you have? And we're like, none.
Yes, none. Absolutely none.
So it's, we're going to have to get creative, but we have done one of them.
Yeah.
And I think it is one of the funniest things that we've been able to put together. It's insane.
Amazing.
We want to do more of them. We just have to figure out
Totally.
how.
To let them know what it was, he contacts me and he says, we have this idea about a comedian trying to do a set in the middle of a mosh pit. And I was so down. I was like, I'm in. And then I think it was just scheduling, or it didn't end up coming together the way, but we couldn't do what we wanted to do for that one.
Right. The festival, it was going to be at a festival
Yeah.
in like Southern California.
Yeah.
And I don't think the actual festival happened.
Okay.
I think they shut it down. Like, they were like, do you want to do it during like Megadeth? And we were like, yes.
Yes, definitely during Megadeth.
Yes. That sounds great. And then I think they had like a pre-fighter fest. So like we didn't end up we haven't done anything on the West Coast other than the weather at Danzig's.
Yes.
Which I'm not like we have a West Coast correspondent, but when we do, we'll see what we can pull off. We'll see if we can get around some California rules and we'll open up this mic. It is literally a open mic in the middle of a mosh pit.
A mosh pit, which is
and
just
people
the
are
best.
trying to do like hey, what's up? Fuck.
Hey everybody, isn't it
Who's
crazy
swiping?
about it's so good. So before I let you go, because I know I've kept you already for a long time, it wouldn't be a Waterproof Records episode if I didn't talk about this. And I want to say to the audience, I've gotten better about refining what the Waterproof Record is, because I've had guests on before. And when the show started, I would ask musicians who would come on. I would be like, well, what's the album that got you to play guitar, play drums, whatever? And they would answer accordingly. And then I would have a guest on the show that wasn't necessarily a musician. They were just a music fanatic, a music lover. And so I'd be like, okay, well, what was the album that like changed your life? And then it just dawned on me that I was like, what a Waterproof Record is for me is that album that you go, I am who I am to this day because of that album. I am. It literally formed my identity in so many ways. And so that is kind of what I, am starting to put out there to my guests and talking about on the show, is that like, if somebody said, well, what, it's because I think you can have a favorite album, which would be separate. I think you could have an album that made you want to play music, which could be separate. But you go, so much of like who I am right now is really dependent upon my experience of discovering that. And it's usually in your youth. And you told to me, and if I hope it still stands true, Danzig to Lucifuge. There it is. He's got it. There it is. So
they don't make this anymore. They have not repressed this fucking album. The album on iTunes and Spotify doesn't even have this cover.
No, it has the chest. It has the chest. Yeah, that's the original
cover.
cover.
Zoom in of this.
It's the zoom in, the black and white zoom in of his little furry pectoral chest with the cross. Yeah. So go ahead.
I picked this album. I feel like it's always a top album. Anything is hard. And it was between this and AFI's Sing the Sorrow for what album, like, I am who I am, because like I discover the Misfits and AFI separately. Like I find out that like, oh, AFI does Misfits. Oh my God, they're one of the biggest influence. Like I discover that around the same time, and I'm like, it's cool that these two things are linked. And I feel like I chose this because Sing the Sorrow is more of I play guitar the way I play and write songs the way I do because of Sing the Sorrow.
Yeah.
But overall influence to me in who I am and how I think about music and different stuff is probably because of Danzig. Yeah. And I feel like I didn't hear Danzig 2 until like later until I was in like going into college. But Danzig and all of his projects have had an effect on me since I was a wee lad.
Yeah.
Since I was 12 years old, I feel like I first heard the Misfits. And I became obsessed. And then I feel like his body of work, I feel like people are really hard on him.
They are.
And I think it's unfair because you gotta I feel like people are like when people think about Danzig, they're like, oh, he's only got like the first 3 or 4 albums, and then everything else is like he's shot or whatever. And I
Right.
think that number one, 4 albums is a lot.
A lot.
For one.
For one.
That's
yeah.
one. But it's like you're also not counting the Misfits and Sam Hain. He's got 3 iconic bands.
Yeah.
He's got 3 iconic bands. All the Misfits stuff is incredible.
Yeah.
Like they technically have only one album and an EP that is officially released, which is Walk Among Us and Earth AD / Wolf's Blood. Like that's the only things that are officially released from the Misfits. And then a sea of B-sides. Like
Yeah.
Legacy, Brutality, Static Age with like Hybrid Moments and all this stuff. B-sides. And it's still incredible. It's iconic. That shit is so iconic that he gets to play Madison Square Garden.
Yes.
And that's his high school band.
Yes.
And, which is insane. Like imagine someone coming up to you and being like, hey, like where you are now, Jacob, if you get back together with your high school band, you can play the Garden. You would be like, what the fuck are you talking about?
What are you talking about? That is not music worthy of being,
I know.
like that should not be ever heard again,
I feel like that's how I have to imagine that's how like, I think I've heard people say that, like, yeah, he says that. He says, my fucking high school band's playing the Garden. What do you want from me?
Yeah.
But
yeah.
So it's a lot of material. And then by the time, I don't know, at a certain point, he's getting older. Like he
Age
starts
is
in the
inevitable.
70.
We're gonna make fun of just like a guy who had this dark, heavy, cool music, and he's older. He's an older guy, right?
He's like I've heard people go like, I saw the Misfits, they didn't sound good. He's fucking 60 something right now.
Right? Yeah.
What do you want him to sound like?
Right.
Also, what are you doing listening to what the songs sound like in the room? How are you not singing all of them?
Right.
With the whole audience.
And
Like,
that's the
what you're
point of
there
it.
to
We're
do.
enjoying it together. We're looking
Yeah.
up on the stage and we're going, this is awesome. There's Danzig. This is metal. I love it.
But I think album-wise, I think Danzig 1 is the most iconic. I think his actual best songs, like How the Gods Kill is his best song.
Yes.
And
that's
that's
a killer
on,
song.
it's on Danzig 3. But this, I feel like, as a full album, is the best album he's ever made.
Start to finish.
Start to finish, everything. There's like, it has its consistency in the sequencing of this album is unbelievable. It sounds like a better version of Danzig 1, in my opinion. Like sonically, they all sound the best.
Agreed.
The band is off this band that he has, that Rick Rubin gave him.
Yes.
Rick Rubin being like, fire everybody, and then here's
your band.
Here's Chuck Biscuits and John Christ, and they're gonna kill it. And they look like they should be in a band with you. Like, we're gonna surround you with guys that look like you, but huge.
We figured this out. Yeah, we figured this out, and it is one of those things. It's 1990, and this is right before really the mainstream exposure for everybody to Danzig is probably Mother. And that's 93, but that's, I don't even know.
The live version.
Yeah, the live version. I was going to say a lot of people don't realize that Mother is off the first album and then they re-release it in 93 from this live version and it becomes this huge hit. And everybody's like, is it on the latest album? And it's like, no, it's from the first record he put out. Like that's incredible.
Yeah, it's like the success. His success pops off with like, again, like an additional EP to Danzig 3 that has like an Elvis cover, some live shit, and like one original song, and then the live Mother.
Yeah.
And it is crazy that that's how he penetrates, because I feel like Rick Rubin sees it.
Yeah, he does.
Is like that this guy is an unbelievable songwriter and has an all-timer voice. Like, it reminds people of, it's crooning, so it reminds people of Elvis, and Danzig loves Elvis and can do a pitch perfect Elvis impression.
Yeah.
But he does his own thing with his howling and whatnot. And I don't know, everything. I feel like on this album, there's everything flows really well. There's like only one song that I'm like this feels like filler, and that's Girl.
Yeah.
I feel like Girl, I listen to it and I'm like, this is fine. It's not on the level of everything else.
They
And
needed
I
to
feel
fill
like,
out the track list and just were like, yeah.
I feel like if you ask them now, they're like, yeah, we probably. Glenn would be like, I shouldn't have put that on there.
Yeah,
'Cause, like,
yeah.
going from Blood and Tears into Pain in the World as like the ending would have fucking destroyed.
Right.
And I think that I'm trying to see, like, it would have been plenty of songs. It would have been enough
would have been
for an
just
album.
fine.
But it is, I think, it is an incredible listening experience. I feel like you get everything. Like, it's the perfect entry point to Danzig. All of everything that's good about him is on this record. You can get, you can kind of go forward and backward from this point.
Yeah.
The production sounds unbelievable. I feel like Danzig 1, it sounds very of its time, in my opinion. Like, everything's really clean. It's really compressed and it's really clean. And I think that, you know, if you're just getting into this and you're seeing the imagery, it might not, like, when I first heard Danzig 1, I was like, I was not prepared for it to sound like this.
Yeah.
But then I hear like Danzig 2, and it's starting off with like ass beaters. It starts off with like Long Way Back from Hell.
Yeah.
And then it goes into Snakes.
Oh, the dive bombs.
Ah!
Yeah, just
His leads, John Christ. This is John Christ's record, and I guess as like a guitar player, like I'm like, fuck. He's having a blast. Like, it also feels like when Long Way Back from Hell ends, the way it transitions into Snakes of Christ, which we have done a cover of, with Gina from Baroness.
Yes. Awesome.
It's great.
Awesome.
I had so much fun. But the way it transitions from Long Way Back to Hell into that, it kind of feels like a breakdown is starting.
Yes.
For like hardcore, and you're like, oh my god, the pit, we're gonna die, and it's the start of another song. And that
amazing.
Feels crazy. Blood and like Her Black Wings is is fighting How the Gods Kill for best Danzig song.
Yes.
It's crazy. The best ballad he's ever written is Blood and Tears.
Yeah.
Blood and Tears is incredible. If like a modern crooner, if like anyone who's done a Bond theme from the past like 2 decades, sang Blood and Tears, it would be a hit.
Yeah, absolutely.
It could be in a Bond movie.
Agreed.
But I feel like, like you gotta have, with Danzig, I think that like you can tame him, like, and have him do like I don't know if you've ever heard, he did a song for Less Than Zero.
I don't think I've ever heard
Robert Downey
it.
Jr. movie.
I remember the movie.
He writes the title track.
Really?
Yeah, or he sings it for Rick Rubin, and he's singing clean and he's not howling, and you're like, this can be a hit. He's still howling on like Blood and Tears, so I think that's where they're like, all right, I don't know if we can put this on the radio because he's going, oh, or whatever. Like,
signature
I don't know
him.
it's so, which I love, but I don't know. I think that this is his best work. So like, I feel like also the difference in all of the different Danzig projects, like Misfits is like, what if the Ghosts of Doo-Wop like started a punk band? That's fucking awesome. Then like later Misfits and like Sam Hain is like disgusting hardcore.
Yeah.
Disgusting sloppy hardcore. And then he's like writing like spooky rock and roll, like just spooky hard rock.
Yeah, spooky hard rock.
Fucking rocks. I don't know.
I love it.
His ethos, his songwriting, like it is the biggest influence on me. I feel like it's a very obvious answer for me. But
Good. Well, now I know, and I'm glad it was the choice that you made. It's a great one. It's a great choice. Now, what age did you start playing? We're gonna wrap it up. Obviously, I gotta let you go. But I was gonna say, what age did you start playing music, guitar?
I started playing probably around this exact time. 8th grade is when I started.
Okay.
I think I always wanted to, but I don't know. I had parents that like kind of didn't take music or comedy seriously. They're like, you're not going to be able to like make a living doing that. You got to be a doctor.
Yeah. And look at
Why
you now.
won't you be a doctor?
Look at me now, Mom.
Kind of. I'm an internet clown, so I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's what either my mom nor I planned for either for me, but here we are.
Yeah, here we are. I love it. Well, this has been amazing, dude. Is there anything else? I mean, we plugged the December 14th and let everybody know that you got to come out and see the show. And then just stay tuned to see if it's going to be coming to a city near you. And just so stoked that we got to do this. My last memory of that fella that you remind me of was we ate at a Chipotle together while on the street that Haha Cafe is on because we were killing time.
Right.
And I remember that was one of the last times, and it was shortly after that you're like, by the way, I'm moving out of LA, and I was like, no. So
I remember the time. I remember like we became friendly, and I remember right when I was making my decision to move back to New York for work. I got a better job. I had to. Like, I was like I can do theoretically stand up out there, but
out there, yeah.
I remember right before leaving, like we had a conversation, and I remember we were talking about Mastodon, and I was like, Jacob likes metal. Sick. Or like I was like I didn't know that like you were a music guy.
People don't know that about me. Yeah. They don't a lot of people,
not initially.
Yeah, I let them know, and now that obviously I do the thing that I do, but they're still surprised at my metal love. I don't make enough content about metal. I have before, but like when I wore a Sanguisugabog t-shirt, people were like, you like that band? I was like, fuck yeah, I do. Or I make a video about Black Dahlia Murder or whatever. I'm like, I make videos. I made a video about the Tony Danza tap dance extravaganza, and literally people were like, you like this? And I was like, fuck yeah, I do. I just never I never get a chance to really spread my black wings on these tracks in social media. So
I think it's also, it's fun because it's like learning when people are into like aggressive music is like, oh, they're down. Oh, he's that Jacob's down. And also even the funny thing is like I love Sanguisugabog.
Yeah.
And they are a lot of fun, and they are also just champions of all types of music. If you follow,
they're great.
Any of their social media, like they're lifting up so much death metal.
Yeah.
So much death metal, but they are also lifting up so much other, like they are a death metal band, and they are probably the best death metal band right now. Or no, they're one of
the best. Yeah.
They're one of the best. They sound unbelievable live.
Yeah.
Go see, if you have not, if you're a death metal fan and you haven't seen it, go see them. They're unreal. But every day, like their mission is to be champions of music, and I respect that shit so much. I love to see that. I love seeing like people from this community just loving their community, but also just loving all music, because we
Agreed.
should all, as music fans and musicians, we should be supporting all of it.
Agreed. I've never been a part of the elitist circles, which is like, this is real, this is not. I'm like, I don't care.
Totally.
You get into whatever kind of aggressive music you like. I don't care what speed it is, you know? So,
Yeah.
So anyway, well, dude, thank you again for coming on Waterproof Records.
Yeah.
Just so good to see you after so long. And honestly, I am hoping that there is a West Coast reunion, or otherwise I'll get my ass out to the East Coast and I can see you out there and you can show me around.
Yeah, man.
I'd love
We'll
it.
go to the statue. We'll go to Joe's Pizza. You're gonna have a great time.
You give me all the stuff. Give me all
Yeah.
the touristy stuff. I love it.
Yeah, it'll be great.
All right, everybody. So make
Spider-Man
sure
pizza, baby.
Yeah. So make sure, if you haven't yet, go check out 2 Minutes to Late Night. Funniest, most amazing, music-loving group of people that'll make you laugh. Great energy, great fun. You'll absolutely have a blast on every show. So check it out for sure. Thank you, Gwarsenio Hall, for coming on my show today.
Thank you, Jacob. Thank you for having me.
We're gonna end
Have
it
a great
right there.
afternoon.
It's so fun. It's so fun when you get a chance to hang out with friends that you spent time with in another lifetime, to reminisce about those times, to talk about those open mics. It all seems to somehow get romanticized a little bit in your head again, because when you left, you felt like, just this community, this world I don't want to be in. But I feel like I'm looking at it again with fresh eyes, and what better way to remember it than hanging out with Gwarsenio for a little while there. It sounds like he's got a lot of very exciting stuff. I do hope he makes his way out to the West Coast, because I would love to be in any bit they wanted to put me in. I would love to open up this mic, which is such a funny idea. But again, 2 Minutes to Late Night is such a funny show. You can go on YouTube. You can see all these awesome episodes that they have. And again, those collaborations with epic musicians, you won't even believe it. When you type in 2 Minutes to Late Night on YouTube, you will see all these cover songs that they've been putting out. Like he said, they were ahead of the curve on the Zoom and the remote filming things. They had it in the can before we even got in a situation where that's the only way we could communicate. I mean, hell, look at Waterproof Records. This podcast relies upon the fact that I can have guests that live across the country, like in New York, and I can still have them come on the show. So it was so cool hanging out and catching up with him after so long. And thank you guys for hanging with me. And we learned a little bit about Danzig too. I was a fan of some songs of Danzig's. I haven't followed his career as in depth as he did, but it was really fun to see his passion and excitement for that artist. And that's what I love about the show, is really getting a chance to see my guests kind of geek out over something that they love. So that was super cool. So thanks for joining me again on Waterproof Records. Make sure you're checking out distrokid.com/VIP/waterproof. Get that 30% off. And this was a fun one. We'll see you next time on Waterproof Records.
Things are gonna change. I can feel it.
If this gonna be that kind of party, I'm gonna
Waterproof Records.